Okay, here we go, guys. All right, so for today's Ignite session, we are talking about connecting with your market. Um, and then first and foremost, I just want to touch base with you all. What, you know, when we're connecting with our market and we're educating our clients. What are some things that you think are important that we should be aware of and educate ourselves on in order to speak on the market? What kind of things should we know?
Well, of course, the total market overview.
Yes, total market overview. And for those of you that aren't aware, the total market overview definitely covers, it gives us a snapshot by region or by city. It's something that our market center prepares um, specifically. So Keller Williams specifically prepares this for different regions. So for Anchorage, for the Anchorage Muni, for the Matsu Valley, and for the Kenai. So yeah, definitely total market overview. What else should we be educating ourselves on for regarding the market? Any other information you think that's valid that we should be collecting or educating ourselves on in order to speak on what's happening or what our obs.
I would say knowing loan programs out there and speaking to lenders. I know there's a lot of great lenders in the Valley specifically because I don't know much about Anchorage, obviously, but they
Mhm.
will send you a ton of material to kind of give you insights about those as well.
Exactly. Yes. Beautiful. Yes. Talking to lenders, so important. There is a wealth of information. Even like I remember being brand new and going out to, for a cup of coffee with a lender to just educate me on the process, help me understand like from their end of things. And when you form a partnership with a lender, and you can have multiple lenders that you connect with, but find someone that you can just pick up the phone and be like, hey, what can you tell me about this? Specific situations, or like, hey, what are interest rates looking like right now? They can give you kind of a general overview. Um, and then, yeah, educating yourself on like, what are interest rates looking like? And I will say that just be careful about like quoting interest rates, saying, this is what we're seeing, but of course it depends, from consumer to consumer. What other information do you think we should take into consideration regarding the market? Maybe if we're watching the news, what's happening with the economy?
Current
And
events.
I would say like take everything with a grain of salt because maybe what's happening in the lower 48. And nationally, we're kind of buffered in a way. It hits us differently or later here in Alaska, differently than what's happening in the lower 48. Um, so so it's important to also know what's happening locally, like and maybe economically, what's happening with jobs, what's happening with oil. Um, Definitely like just looking at those things, I think is really, really important. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, so we are on session 3. We're gonna connect with our market. We've already covered spark your career, embrace your job, and then tomorrow we'll be covering define your value. So we're really covering like how to be the real estate expert of choice. Okay. Um, in this section, these are things that we're going to be covering today. This is our agenda. Our agenda is to know your market. We're going to talk about statistics. We're going to talk about different resources that you can pull to educate yourself. We're also going to work on building your expertise. I'll show you how to where to find some of these points, and then also like how can we utilize these resources to be able to make you the expert in the field, right? And how can you use these resources and this data to be able to push information out? Remember, you are a guide, you're an educator. So we're working on ourselves to be able to study the craft and share information. So let's see, what else are we going to do? So we're going to analyze current real estate market trends to build your expertise. And then we'll use KW technology and social media to connect with clients and grow your business. We're going to be able to take this data and then use it with AI, and I'll show you that, like kind of what you can do with this information and create certain talking points and put it across the board in social media. Okay, could I have somebody read this quote for me, please?
Here's the truth. If it hasn't been done in another market, it can be done in your market. Once it has been done, no matter where, it's just possible of finding out how that can be possible in your world.
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I believe that. I've traveled around a lot, and it's all a mindset of whether everything's possible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it really helps us understand that applying the right systems and models to your market can help you achieve success of those who have come before you. So that's a big thing with Keller Williams. We are very much about like systems and models, and they're proven systems and models. And oftentimes we want to get creative and, recreate the wheel. We're like, well, wait, I've got this great idea. Let me go do it this way. Well, if you do the tried and true and stick with the systems and models, um, you'll definitely see the fruit of your labor, and it's just getting at it. So we're gonna move on. So we talked about connecting with our market. All right. Okay, so there are a couple things I want to cover here. So knowing your market. So knowing and connecting with your market is all about research and preparation, right? And so something I'd like to touch on regarding this is the fact that we are going to be taking a look at market factors on a macro level and at a micro level. And being a real estate expert is really knowing your market and connecting with it in unique and consistent ways. So at a macro level, you'll know what's going on kind of in and I'll use this kind of in a broad term, and then we'll zoom in this way. Macro, we can look at what's happening nationally, and on a micro level, we can look at what's happening in our region or in the city that we live in. And I'm going to take it and zoom in even further. At a macro level, maybe you know what's happening in your city. Maybe it's Wasilla. Maybe it's Anchorage. That's a macro level, right? But then what if you take it to a micro level? That could certainly be maybe you're zooming in on a home or specific facts about a neighborhood. Because in the Valley, I'll speak specifically to the Valley, you can have two identical homes, and depending on what part of town they're in, they will be priced differently. So maybe the same home in the Gateway area, along Trunk Road may be priced differently than a home that's all the way down KGB. So being able to look at statistics and pulling up information based on neighborhoods or based on areas is really important. Okay, so I have some data that I wanted to share with you all. And let me see if I can pull it up. There is some data that I have that I wanted to share. So let me get out of here. Let me just log into this because I want to be able to show you. I want to show you where to find this information. Ah, that's not going to work. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to have to go into my login. All right, we're going to go into micro data, but I actually want to open this up for you guys real quick, and it's really important. Within KW, let me pull it up. Let's see if I can get it for you guys. Give me 1 second, and I will get you guys this information. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to send you guys a copy of these slides. And this is from Mega Agent Camp. From this past August, and it was a market update that was given. And this is talking about the US economy, inflation, unemployment. But I'm going to scroll through a lot of this. It's going to talk about, a lot of the data that it's been looking historically, right? Talks about unemployment nationally, the national average of unemployment. And look at where we're at. Like we went through COVID times and look what was happening here. And then unemployment dropped. And now we're seeing a rise. Okay. Now these are national averages of percentage of unemployment. All right. And then it's also important to see like what's happening locally as far as employment. And I've pulled that data as well, but I'll show you. This is our macro level, right? And then this is inflation. Bless you, Jeremy. So this is inflation. Where are we at? 2024, the projection, right? So it's fascinating to take a look. This is now the real estate industry. Where are we at? Isn't that interesting? There was like the crash of '08. And look, we're in a shifting market currently. And what happened here after the crash, it was like steady, 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 then it started to rise, right? Annual home sales. Monthly home sales. And we've been like really holding steady here, starting to rise. And home prices. Look at this. 2025, 24. So we're above the trend. What was above? This was 21% above the trend back in '06. '06 and '07. Here we're 8.3% above the trend for 2025. 2024 was 9.9 above the trend. These are home prices. So then it's interesting after like, it's almost like peaks and waves. What happens here? What's your observation historically? What has happened? And then looking at inventory. Where are we at inventory wise? The purple is 2024. This teal is 2025. So the reason I'm showing you this, and I'll send you these slides, it's really interesting to be able to just study like what's happening nationally. What observations did you guys have from this? Just looking at that briefly. Any thoughts? I'll jump to Alaska. Alaska unemployment rates. Anchorage, Matsu. This is our unemployment rate. Anchorage versus the Matsu Valley, right here. And it's not seasonally adjusted. And then this graph shows us unemployment rates between June of 2015 to June 2025. And look at it, they're comparing Alaska to the US. Do you see how different that is? Alaska is in blue and US is in red. So remember I said we're slightly buffered. I mean, we follow kind of what happens nationally, but we're slightly buffered from that, right? So
Yeah.
this is good information to like look at. Wage and salary employment, percent change from the same month the previous year. So this information is online. Like, look at regional employment change from June 25 compared to June of 24. There was an increase in Anchorage and Matsu Valley, right? Northern region, I bet that's the North Slope. So it's just interesting to have some of this information in hand and become familiar with what's happening, knowing your market at a macro level versus a micro level. I also wanted to just point out, like, when we look at stuff like this, like these slides, there, I'll show you what we can do with this information to be able to upload it into like ChatGPT or Claude AI and have it interpret some of this data in layman's terms. Because if you're like, gosh, I don't have my pocket protector and my calculator and my great glasses with me, that's okay. You don't have to speak economics, but if you can interpret it and be able to translate what your observation is and be able to see how that's affecting the market, or this is what's happening nationally, and Alaska tends to mirror it in some way, but maybe not as dramatically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then we can take some of these slides and upload them into ChatGPT to be able to help like analyze some of the data. And then compare that data, national data, compare that to local data. And then have it be like referenced and give you like certain talking points. All right. All right. So let me get out of this and we'll keep going. Any questions so far? Or any thoughts on this?
I did like the idea of just going through the labor section and going through and just looking at jobs and whatnot and being able to kind of build a better view of the market, not just of what houses are available.
Absolutely. And then there's reports out there talking about demographics. If you attend like meetings regarding like the economic forecasts or the local economic forecast, sometimes banks will host them. Sometimes you'll see through our local board, we'll have somebody talk about, all right, what's happening locally. Even with the planning and plating commission or whatever they're planning as far as that's concerned, and what areas of growth are we seeing. I remember attending a meeting at the Valley Board of Realtors, and they were covering, like, they were projecting an increase of population of at least like 10,000 people in the next 5 years. And think about how much the infrastructure would need to grow to be able to support that. Even all of the road work that's happening now, what's the increase of traffic that's happening, and how many people are actually commuting, how many people are moving here from out of state, or was there an exodus of Alaska? Like, what's the population change? And so I started to research that last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we actually lost people. There were people leaving Alaska. Um, Let me see if I have that information pulled up. I pulled it on my computer. So um, the population percent change from April 1st of 2020 to July 1st of 2024 dropped by 0.6% in Alaska.
Yeah, there's I can't remember, it's ADEC, I think it's Anchorage Development and Economic Committee. They put out reports I
Yes.
follow them a lot, and they're focused on the port right now, but they put out an interesting report like that based off demographics, and it's actually age range 35 and younger. So there's a mass exodus of young people from leaving Alaska right now.
Wow. Exactly. Yes. So yes, you're right. It is the ADEC, and I had pulled some of the information from there. I was looking for a more recent report, and I didn't see that. But yeah, it was very comprehensive, and definitely worth looking into because it's really looking at like what is Alaska doing? Um, and then let me hop out of this real quick. I was going to show you this document um, also has a second page, and it talks about employment by industry, June 2025. And so here you can take a look at June of 2025, May of 2025, June of 2024, total non-farm employment, the change, what's the percentage of change? Um, and then also like compared to, June of 2024, and then it talks about like private employment and also by trade here. And where are we seeing the greatest growth? It's oil and gas.
And one thing you got to be careful on that one of is they
Mm-hmm.
only report summer numbers,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and with oil, gas, and leisure and hospitality, a lot of those are seasonal.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. But it's interesting to see like the information that's being shared here and where are people coming and working, right?
Mhm.
So again, yes, and to my point, it's also like take this all with a grain of salt. It's like, okay, you're just gathering some information and then we'll go from there. But it's good information to have kind of in your back pocket. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about the three types of real estate markets. There's a buyer's market, a balanced market, and a seller's market. And these are all based on the amount of inventory available. And so, in a buyer's market, houses are not selling extremely rapidly. A buyer's market means that there's more homes for sale on the market than there are interested buyers. And then supply of houses are greater than demand. There's a large inventory of houses available, and this puts the buyer at an advantage and can possibly get a home at an affordable price. The opposite is true in a seller's market. In a seller's market, demand for homes is greater than the supply of homes are available. So, or there are more interested buyers than there are homes for sale. And this puts the seller at an advantage and often creates multiple offers. In a balanced market, you have a healthy share of buyers and sellers and a good amount of inventory. A balanced market is generally represented by having 6 months of inventory available, and it means there's plenty for both of both houses and buyers at the same time. So a shift occurs when you've heard of a market shift, right? So a shift occurs when a market moves from one market to another. And what do you think causes a shift in market? What are some causes? What do you guys think creates a shift in market? We're
The
we're
economy.
experiencing a shift. Yeah, the economy. Absolutely. Economic factors. We just looked at it. We just looked at and what caused it. So changing interest rates, inflation, economic factors in the community, like a bunch of things, like um, let's say there's going to be like a change in the community. Sometimes that can create a shift. And how can knowing your market prepare for any shifts? We know what could create a shift, but do you see how knowing your market can actually prepare you for any shifts that may be coming up or that we may be experiencing? And is a shift something that you can control?
No.
No, not at all. But can you prepare for a shift with certain tactics? Yes, absolutely yes. Any questions on this? Okay, so we're going to talk about inventory. So inventory is the number of properties for sale within a market. And what is the inventory of your market? So I'll have to update these numbers, but I wanted to show you where can you find this information. So we're going to hop out of here and I'll show you. So when we go here into your Flex MLS, you're going to hit the Flex MLS icon. Oops, we're back there. We're actually going to hit menu and it drops down and gives you options, right? Go here to Alaska Real Estate. Okay. And once you're here, this is where you're able to look at real estate statistics. Click on that. And then here we have a bunch of information. We'll start with the supply and demand report. All right. Actually, I'll take that back. Let's look at the active listing report. And this one's for the Matsu Borough. I'm going to click back to the Anchorage Muni. And you see, you can go very hyper local if you want, but if I wanted to include all of the Anchorage Muni, then this is showing us the active inventory. And condos and any mobile homes are excluded. The bright yellow is 2026. We're just brand new to 2026. So 2025 is showing us what inventory looked like historically. And this is from January to December. And historically looking at, okay, what happened in 2022 inventory-wise, historically for December. 2023, we saw an increase. 2024, and here 2025. So we saw kind of a drop. Here, it has a table that gives you all of these numbers, like what's our inventory looking like, right? It even takes it back all the way back to 2018. Look at that drop. So we are, in fact, in a low inventory year. And then again, you could go hyper if you're like, well, I just really want to focus on, let's say you're in Eagle River. All right, there, Eagle River. Wow, guys, look at that. So really, you're looking at what inventory has done historically and being able to take this information and look at that. We also want to take a look at, okay, what's average price? I think that's really important to see. What's the average price? So this is all of the Anchorage Muni. let's say you're looking at a property that's along Muldoon in this area, area 45, Boniface Parkway and Muldoon Road. And this is, again, this report is, this is letting you know what that average price report is, right? And then looking here for 2025, average price this past December is 362,884. Year to date average sales price, let's look at that. It's 392,891. And then here we can look at the percent change. Look at where the average sales price was compared to 2024. So the average sales price has gone up. Do you see how much it's grown? Average sales price has gone up. Inventory has gone down. Are you noticing this trend?
Mm-hmm.
So again, you can play around with this, especially if you're looking at properties in a certain area for a client to kind of see like, okay, well, let's see what historically what has happened. Units sold. All right. Again, I'm just going to focus on Boniface and Muldoon. Units sold in that area specifically. Look, there's an uptick in December. I mean, like the numbers were high this year in comparison. So properties are moving and selling, and we had low inventory.
And real quick, sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
think I've asked this before, but does MLS have a map of the areas? Because they have them number coded, but
Yeah. Oh, you did ask me this. I will reach out to the MLS because that's something that I think would be helpful to kind of have that map and be able to see like what are the different regions. At
yeah,
least I thought I remember seeing something color coded at some point. But let me reach out to them and see if they can send me something and I'll forward it on.
awesome. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Sales volume. Hey, this shows you total sales volume. Units sold. Average sales price. So really this is showing you some data. And what's the percentage of change? Let's look at 2025. Oh, so the percentage of change. So total sales volume in that area. So this is specifically for that Muldoon area. This is just letting you know how much change as far as average sales price or total sales volume for that area specifically. So it's just educating yourself on the market. Supply and demand. I'm gonna hop out of that and just make it very general. Supply and demand is very helpful too, because it's going to show you, just like the TMO, the total market overview, it's going to show you by price bracket. And so if you're looking at a specific price point, it's helpful to see like what was the sales across the board, average, how many is active today, and then scrolling down, this just lets you know. Let's say you're looking at something, let's say in the $500,000 range, active as of today, there are 9 that are active. 13-month average, 16.15. Current inventory months, 0.56. That's low inventory. Low inventory. So do you think you can use data like that to say, hey, we are having low inventory. If you're thinking about buying or selling, this may be a great time for you as a seller to be able to sell because you have less competition. Like, say something like that. That would be great for social media, great for mailers, whatever. Here, residential sales in the last 6 months for the entire market of the Muni. This is including Girdwood and Eagle River and Chugiak. So just take this in mind. If you're really hyper focused on the city of Anchorage, then you would click. Then you would start to click what applies to you and omit, you know, Chugiak and Girdwood and Eagle River. Heck, maybe there's other regions you may want to omit, but there you have kind of an idea of average sales price, average sold. And then what's the percentage that maybe the seller got, maybe the percentage of the sale to the original list price, or say the percentage of sale to list price. So it's still about 99%, but when we look at the percentage of the sale to the original list price, that means people are dropping their prices or getting lower offers. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So it helps to be able to like look at some of this information. It even has like a sold market analysis. Like what has sold? Numbers sold, sold volume, average sales price, percent of list, and days on market. Okay. So this is where you could get really specific with your data. I'm gonna move this. I also want to take you here. Part of KW, we get emails. If you're not getting these TMOs, please let me know. We'll make sure you just need to send an email to Coco and ask her to add you to the mailing list. You should be getting the KW newsletters, letting you know what's happening, what kind of stuff, events or education's happening throughout the week. But then we get these TMOs. So the total market overview, and I'll show you, when we open it up, I'll open up for the Matanuska-Susitna Borough. Again, this is macro. It's going to include all of the Matsu Borough. And I'll actually verify that. I'll have to see if they're just including Wasilla and Palmer, or if they're including like Big Lake, Sutton. I'll verify that. But every week we get this, and this kind of gives you kind of a snapshot of where are we at. I love the fact that on this end, it's color coded. It already tells you, does it favor sellers or does it favor buyers? Red, it favors sellers. Blue, or like this aqua color, favors buyers. So look at that. So it's definitely like a seller's market here in this price point. The orange is like, it's still kind of favors sellers, but it depends. And it favors buyers when you're like over $1 million. But it gives you an idea. And then this is telling you like how many months of inventory there is. So there's low inventory. Look at the difference. 2 months of inventory at $1 million, but you go above 1.1 million, you have 42 months of inventory. Crazy, right? So let's look at something like in the $400,000 range. And how would we read this and interpret this with clients? So here's how I present the TMO. When I'm working with clients, I present this to both buyers and sellers to educate them on the market. So I'm like, okay, great. We're looking at this property. It's, maybe it's listed at 450,000, right? And we take a look at this total market overview, and it gives us a price bracket. We'll look at this price bracket between $400,000 and $499,999. And this blue box up here tells us how many properties are active in the Matsu Borough, right? So it looks like 316 properties are active in the Matsu Borough as of January 11th, right? But when we look back here at this line, it tells us within this price bracket, 77 homes are active on the market out of that 316, right? On average, days on market, homes in this price bracket are on the market for 108 days. The median days on market, so let's explain what average and median is. So average is taking an average of like, great, we're going to, add up everything, like all the days on market, and divide it by that amount. So let's say there's one outlier that's like 100 days on market, but then we have another one that's 3 days on market, another one that's 5 days on market, another one that's 27 days on market, and they're going to add them all up and do the average. I would tell you to be cautious about averages or trusting averages. We really want to lean in more on median. Average can skew your data, but it's good to know, like, okay, on average, where does it land? So take a look at this. Average is 108, but the median, which tells us what number out of all of this data that's been collected, sits in the middle. And the middle, the median, is at 84 days on market. So I would lean in more on median, right? So 84 days on market for the properties that are active, right? And then let's take a look at here. Let's continue on the median. So here, current list price, those that the median list price is at $449,000. So that's right in the middle. And that's good to see because this is telling me really in the middle, most of them are sitting right there at about the $450,000 range. Now, we look at the green box, and that's going to tell us there's 132 properties that are pending. That means that they're currently under contract. Okay, so they've accepted a contract. They still have to meet certain requirements before they can close. And so of those that are pending, there are 28 that are within this price bracket. And the pend ratio is 27%. And then off market, that means 300, wow, guys, 367 properties are off the market in the last 6 months. That means maybe they were canceled or they're expired listings. Okay. And so of those, it's like 85 were within this price point. And look at that compared to other brackets, price brackets. That's a high amount. And 938 properties closed or sold in the last 6 months. Okay. And in this price bracket, 256 properties in this price bracket sold in the last 6 months. Okay. Median 25. So days on market. So they were on the market for about 25 days before they accepted an offer. So if you're looking at a property and like maybe it's 100 days on market and it's at this price point, do you think maybe it was overpriced or maybe there's something else that could affect it? Maybe we always say it's price, condition, or location. Price, condition, or location. So are they chasing the market? Because it shifted so quickly that now it's overpriced and now they're trying to catch up and they've become a stale listing. Could be. Or is it a condition thing? Or do they have a lot of competition? Maybe it's new construction and it's a lot more appealing to buy new construction than to buy something that's already um, already built. Or could it also be that it's also having to do with location? Is the house, what's next to the house? Is it, a junkyard right next door? People who like to collect their Alaska treasures, and it's all in the yard, and it's just an eyesore to the neighborhood. I mean, you never know. So, 25 days on market before receiving an offer. Their original list price was around $450,000. The final list price was $445,000, and then sold or closed price was about $443,000. So in essence, like sellers are getting fairly close to 100% of their asking price, especially with low inventory. I mean, this is low inventory, so it's favoring sellers. So if there's slim pickings, then buyers are like, oh, maybe it's because of low inventory, negotiations could go one way or another. But this is important to know, especially if you're going to list a home at that price point, to know like, should we aim high? Should we aim lower? Like look at what the inventory says, look at what the data says as far as like where you should be priced, and median, like what are the most homes selling for at that in that price bracket. So it'll help you make an educated decision on whether or not to price above 450 or price below it, or if it's just good to straddle that line and see where it goes. Sometimes it's just an interpretation of the market and taking other things into consideration. And then really the buyers and the market is what's going to help determine whether we're priced correctly or not. Do we have any questions here? Okay. If you're like, oh, my mind is spinning, there's a glossary right here. That same page, it'll give you a glossary of all of these terms. Study it. Become familiar with how to be able to present it. Did it make sense how I explained it to you? Are you have,
Yeah.
does that make sense? So that's something I like to just take a look at, and it helps with pricing. It helps to kind of see, it helps to be able to present this information to your clients and maintain communication with them. Okay? Okay. Great. It is 10:02. I think at this point what we'll do is let us take about a 5-minute break. So we'll come back. We'll come back here at 10:07. So go ahead and take a break, and we will get together soon. Okay, so we are back. Let's get a setup here. Okay, so does anyone here, all right, we're gonna now move into interest rates and lender regulations. So make contacts with lenders in your area so you can stay up to date on your market and have an have them answer any questions your clients may have about the process. So if you don't have a lender that you know, like, and trust, let me know. I will connect you with several. There are several that are very knowledgeable and really, really good at educating clients. And then it's important to have several in your back pocket, because some lenders may have Some lenders may have some products that others don't. So one example of that is like Alaska Housing. Not every lender offers Alaska Housing opportunities for your clients. And this could be important because maybe there are grants or certain programs that could benefit like first-time home buyers or different types of clients and their needs. So it's also important to know the current average mortgage interest rates. Not that you need to quote it like it's fact, but if you have an idea of what you're seeing mortgage rates do, it's helpful. It's also important that you don't say, "Oh yeah, we can talk to this lender and they can get you this amount." No, it really varies by a person's ability to qualify for that interest rate, and so a lot of factors come into play, and we always want to defer to the expert. We are an expert in real estate as far as lending, always defer to the lender as the expert. So, interest rates and lender regulations play important roles in the status of your market. As interest rates rise, buying power starts to dip because affordability decreases. We've been seeing that, right? We've been seeing where, like, gosh, where are all the buyers? And interest rates were getting higher and higher. And so these rising interest rates will take some buyers out of the market completely. Some of them will be like, nope, we're out, we're good. We're just gonna wait. Another important number to know for your market is the average down payment percentage for home buyers in the area. So paying attention to lender regulations can help agents get a feel for where the market is headed. If lenders are changing their policies, they could be signaling that a market shift is on the way or already here. Lenders may be reacting to other economic factors that the agents aren't in tune with. So it's important to keep a close eye on these regulations for any changes. Okay. So it's important to know the current mortgage rates in your area, and then let me actually pull out of this, and I will show you. I get an email from Global, and they talk about like currently Global Credit Union home loans rate sheet. And so here you'll see, okay, for a 30-year fixed loan, this is their interest rate, the APR, right? So this gives you an idea, 30-year, 15-year. But what about FHA, VA? What are we looking at here? A 5.5 conventional ARM, jumbo ARM. And if you have questions about any of these, talk to a lender. They'll be able to explain it and what it is that they're seeing. But we're seeing like it hovering around 6%, maybe just, maybe dipping into 5. Look at what a great interest rate you can get if you do a 15-year fixed. We don't often see that, but also here's what's important. This message is for the use of our trusted partners only and is not to be published or shared with any potential customer, right? Because it varies on a borrower's qualifying criteria, credit score, equity, property type, and any other applicable state-specific requirements. So again, that's just my 2 cents to say, just be careful what you're reporting on. You can just say, this is my observation, but in order to know, to get a better idea, hey, I'll refer you out to a lender who could definitely educate you on what that looks like. Okay. Next is economic factors. So this plays an important role in an agent's understanding of the market. So what's the employment or unemployment rate in your market? How many workers are entering or exiting the workforce in your market? What's the growth rate of your community? And has the government made any changes to rules and regulations that might affect the housing market? So we kind of touched on this a little bit, and you can certainly do research locally and nationally and cross compare. So and when you do pull information from this, rising unemployment rates could mean the market is changing, but one factor alone doesn't indicate radical change. Shifts can be good or bad. So always be on the lookout for how numbers in your market are changing and what these changes mean on a micro and macro level. So we also look at like, slowing economic growth in general can affect our market. So keeping up to date on what's happening on the government level, rules surrounding our like housing industry. It also helps you stay ahead of the market. So our job is to be like the research is not to really be the research scientist and to delve like too deep into it, but our job is to understand like how these factors affect the housing market. That's it. And so we take some of this information forward and be able to speak on it in an educated manner. All right. So neighborhood numbers, nearby shops and restaurants, nearby health facilities, and neighborhood attractions. So as you start to preview homes in certain neighborhoods or having open houses, it's really good practice to become familiar with certain statistics to the different neighborhoods in your neighborhood or different neighborhoods in your market. So, when you start showing houses in a certain area, become familiar with like the social attractions in the area. It could add to the appeal of a home. Are there like trails close by? I know when I was showing homes in Anchorage, I had clients that were medical professionals, and it was really important to them to live close to like the Campbell Creek area because they wanted access to trailheads, so they could bike or they could do whatever activities. So, knowing, having information, and knowing this, knowing about the area, or if you know, like, here's another example. When my husband and I first got married, our very, very, very first home that we ever purchased, um, it was in a city where there was a correctional facility, and my husband had read that they were planning on closing that correctional facility. So it wasn't appealing to live in that town necessarily because there was that, there was that. So we bought, and a couple years later, they closed the correctional facility, and property values doubled. They doubled. So we rented that place out for a little bit, and we actually doubled our money. It was amazing. And now, like looking back, that was 20, gosh, I don't know, like more than 25 years ago. And looking back, that area has exploded. Like if we would have kept that, we could have easily quadrupled our money. So just becoming familiar with what's happening. There's also a phrase that my husband really liked. He's like, follow energy. Look to see where there's development. Um, investors really look at stuff like that too. So really become a student of the market and what's happening. You can also look for like new developments. Maybe what's in the works, with roads or housing developments, office buildings or new gas stations that are getting built, shopping centers that are getting put in, or tech companies that are moving into the area. Um, Also, it's become a little bit of a historian. I know, Jeremy, you're really good at this. Know the history of an area, how and when it was developed, and when homes were built. It really makes you sound like, you're a student of the market and of the area. It makes you sound really knowledgeable. Any ahas? I'll pause here. Any thoughts or ahas that you have at the moment?
Just the idea of looking at labor statistics and such, and staying more current with that and presenting it to potential clients is a great idea because I don't think of that much. But yeah, being more in tune with it is a smart idea.
Yeah. And it's, you take what you will from it, right? And you just offer it as information. It's just information. And sometimes depending on our market, it's some parts of our market are shielded from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. We'll keep going. All right, so we're going to build your expertise. Now that you know that to connect with your market, you must know and keep up with the market. You may be thinking, well, how do I learn about my market? There's so much to know. So, who can remember one of the 6 personal perspectives that relates to this? Do you guys remember the 6 personal perspectives? We just covered that yesterday. So, we're going to be learning based. That's the foundation of your action plan. So we're going to build your expertise. Okay. So once you know your market and you're familiar with all the important numbers, now we begin to build your expertise. And part of educating your buyers and sellers is to become the local expert. So knowing the numbers is just the first step. Understanding, interpreting, and applying the numbers of your market to your lead generation and lead follow-up conversations are equally important. And so here, let's go to this. So we're going to build your expertise here. So you're learning the market, you're learning your clientele, you're listening to individuals, and you keep the headlines in context. Oftentimes we can get some people can get very doom and gloom about what's happening in the news, or especially when it's an election year. And it's really, really important that you take these as starting points and you keep everything in context. Knowing your lore. So lore is short for language of real estate. So it starts with the language of real estate. So know how your market is moving and how to communicate this to buyers and sellers. So ask yourself, are there signs of the market picking up or slowing down? It's also important to track the numbers and reports from your market center. How do your local numbers and their changes compare to the national market? So these are important questions to ask yourself, like how am I going to relay this information and how are things flowing? So it's important to be focused on like potential changes that seem more seasonally than normal flow. Often I can see like a drop around the holidays or sometimes a slowdown around the fair season or like it's hunting season, or a drop in movement of the market, especially around like fishing in July. And then it picks back up. It's like, where'd all the buyers go? They're gone fishing. So it's just interesting to watch. And over the years, you'll start to see patterns of how this happens. And then as you track the bigger market, it's important that you track your business as well. When you use command to track your leads, appointments, and transactions, you're able to notice trends as well. And this will help you analyze your market and notice any changes over time in your own business. So, super, super important that when you meet with your clients, you're tracking where did they come from? Where did your clients come from? What is their urgency? Are they A buyers, B buyers, C buyers? And we'll talk about that too. A buyers are like ready, willing, and able to buy like now. B buyers may not be in such a rush, and C buyers are like, they're just kind of looking at the moment. So it talks about urgency. So it's important to also know who's your clientele. Who are the buyers that you're working with? Who are the sellers? Does your market benefit your clients? And does the market put your clients at risk? So as you're monitoring the numbers in your market, ask yourself, who might benefit from this current market and future trends, and who might be at risk? Maybe that's who you want to market to. Like, hey, we've got low inventory, so who would you be marketing to if we have low inventory?
A buyers?
If we have low inventory, who would we be marketing to? Who would that benefit?
Oh, sellers.
Sellers.
Yes, sellers. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Why? Hey, look, here's this data. We've got low inventory. If you're thinking about buying or about selling, now is the time. You'd have less competition, and we may be able to get you top dollar for your property. Let's have a discussion. Yeah. So that could affect how you lead generate, right? Or, hey, sellers are offering concessions because there's high inventory, and this may benefit you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, especially in this price point. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, interest rates are actually improving. Let's have a discussion. I'll connect you with a lender. And so, like, do you see how we can attract buyers or sellers according to market information that we have? So if you're noticing the trends, if you're connected with a lender, you see what's happening, then think of who is it that you want to market to, and how would you market to them? So, and then oftentimes you'll have clients with objections. They're like, "Oh, but I heard in the news." Well, if you're well educated on the market, you'll be able to handle that objection with data and say, "Well, actually, what's happening in the national market, we're kind of buffered from that. And I have data that shows that we have a strong market right now. And this is what it's showing us at this present time. Of course, that could depend on several factors, and we should have a discussion about it, right? So the ebbs, flows, and shifts of the market can be great for different types of clients. And a shift might be great for investors who, or with those with cash who are looking to move into a certain neighborhood. So if you're able to like relay why things are really important to move forward, and you're creating urgency, knowing your market will be able to be the ammo or the fuel you need to be able to drive your point across. Okay. So listening to individuals. So taking a grassroots approach, learn where your sphere gets information and be present. So it's important to go where people are, talk to the people who are learning about the market, your clients and potential clients, and chat with them. And what's really more important is to listen to them. The knowledge that they provide could be very helpful for you as you make sense of the market. And as importantly, what your client thinks of the market. There's no need to argue with them or prove them wrong based on what information you have. Sometimes it just takes you listening, and your listening will reflect back to them. Say, that's interesting. And you're really taking in what's important to them. What is it that they are experiencing? Is there fear behind what they're hearing? And yeah, so it's just important to listen and understand. Put your ear to the railroad. What is your client saying about the market? So here's an example. Like someone may be saying, interest rates keep going up, so I better buy now. Or my neighbor's house hasn't sold, so I'm going to hold off selling mine because the market must not be good now. So listening is really, really important. And then you can follow up. So this underlies a very key point is just be there, be present. And you're guiding your clients on a journey, and that means that you need to know where they're at and how to best help them. Here's something else. So I love this. And I've heard like other realtors do this, like if they're wearing like their logo or a name tag and it has something to do with real estate, or they're wearing a ball cap that has whatever realty on it. And then people will see them and say, "Oh, you're in real estate? How's the market?" He would always respond with, "The market's great. Why do you ask?" He didn't tell them that it's struggling. He didn't tell them, um, he didn't go into like hyper detail because we're not exactly sure why they're asking. So we want to stay curious, remember? So um, anybody you talk to is a potential client. So if they're asking about business, I mean, we're using proactive language. Like, why do you ask? Maybe they're thinking about selling, or maybe they notice someone's sign in the yard and it's been sitting there for a while. It's opening up a conversation for possibilities rather than closing a conversation down with when you have no idea why they're asking in the first place. So I want you to steal that line. If anybody asks you, how's the market? The market's great. Why do you ask? Stay curious. Okay, so keeping headlines in context. As you learn about your market, headlines can be very, very persuasive, like extremely persuasive. People who watch the news and they're doom scrolling and they're like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Just keep it in context. The purpose of a headline is really to like draw you in, and this is how the news makes money, right? They keep their viewers on edge on like, this is what's happening, the sky is falling. And we've survived shifts. We're the world is always changing. So it's just important like what you do with that information. You can make an educated decision. So where do you suspect that buyers and sellers get the majority of their information? Where do you think?
The internet.
The internet. Yeah. They Google foo it, or maybe they're um, looking at the news, or just seeing what other people are reporting on it, social media, the local paper, their friends. So once you figure out where your clients are getting information, read what they see and help them expand their understanding. So learning how people talk about the market is key to joining the conversation about the market, right? So we want to keep headlines in context. And on that note, also, I would like you to just remember to stay neutral about having conversations on what the headlines state. That's my stance. Stay neutral, because people, whether it's politics or religion or whatever, just you're there to help sell them real estate, and it's important that you're there to just be a source to them and help, but you're not there to it could be detrimental if you hold a hard stance and they go the other way. So just remember what your job is at the moment. It's to really focus on real estate, focus on the client, and to help educate them, no matter what your political, religious beliefs are. You're there to help educate and offer information, without skewing, right? Um, okay, so we talked about like paying attention to your local MLS, to different platforms, to know what exactly is happening, but you just want to keep it in context for them. All right. Next, we're going to talk about utilizing these resources. So now that you know how to build your expertise and your knowledge of the market, now we're going to explore some tools that can help you. So you're going to use the KW app. And if you don't have it downloaded already, the apps are the KW Command app. That's the red one. This is KW Command. And the white background one is the KW Consumer app. And so make sure that you get those downloaded and familiar with them, like play around with it. Okay, here we go. And then going into Command. So the Command app is a single platform for agents that can help them with everything from lead generation to database management, organizing tools all in one spot, right? And we touched on this a little bit yesterday. And at the same time, the KW app was developed to complement Command. And it's streamlining the home buying and selling process and connecting agents and consumers. So when you are going in here, you're entering your client's information. You're also keeping track of like, where did they come from? You can apply a tag to their contact information. And then really the biggest value add to this is that it doesn't come at an additional cost to you. It's not like you have to buy a whole nother system. If you're on a team or you're if you're choosing to use a different program, fantastic. Command we really use just for getting paid, but for you, those of you who are brand new and getting started, this is an excellent tool. I still use Command. I had used different platforms, and we've just circled back, and we're using Command in our day-to-day business and practices, and keeping in touch with clients and using smart plans. So definitely Command can assist you with like lead generation, automating workflow, managing your transactions, customizing reports. It enhances your customer's experience and the customer service that you offer. And it's it's a good way to like become familiar with this to know how you connect with your clientele. All right. So this talks about, using the KW app. And then this is your ability to be able to you'll download this, you'll create a profile, and then you log in as the agent using your profile. So when you download it from the App Store, you touch the drop-down menu on the upper left, you scroll to profile, you log in as agent using your KW Connect credentials, and then to share your app with others, touch the Share App button on the front screen. So you can pull that up and then you'll be able to share your app. So if you don't have business cards currently, no problem. You can share your app, and it's a good opportunity to be able to capture their information. Okay. Couple things I want to touch on before we hop into our check-in. Okay. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce you to a couple of things. Actually, we'll do this. So right now, like if you have your Google Suite through KW, if you have your KW email, so your Gmail suite, if you have an email like mine is sharon.shaw@kw.com, then you have a Google Suite that includes Gemini Pro. And here, it's possible to be able to upload certain information and have it analyze that data and be able to talk about, certain talking points regarding the market at a macro level versus a micro level. So, for instance, let me see. I had, for instance, can you create social media? And I'm going to actually get creative, like specific. Can you create 20 social media talking points regarding the real estate market for sellers in the Matsu, Alaska area? What I might do is pull statistics. Let's say I pull, let's say I go back to my TMO, see if I have my TMO here. And then I go to Gemini. I want to add files. So I've uploaded the TMO. Let's see if Gemini can do it. Sometimes I use Claude AI to be able to do stuff like this. Okay, so can you create 20 and actually I'm going to put 20 talking points. I'm going to take out social media. Can you create 20 talking points regarding the real estate market using this data for sellers in the Matsu, Alaska area? And let's see what it pulls up. I'm handing it the data, and so it'll analyze it. Let's see how well it does. So market momentum and demand, a seller's advantage. The current market officially favors sellers with only 2 months of inventory available across the borough. Strong sale to list ratio. On average, homes are closing 99% of their final list price, indicating that buyers are meeting sellers' expectations. Active buyer interest. There are currently 132 pending sales in the market, showing steady ongoing demand, even in the winter season. High market velocity. The median time a home stays on the market is just 23 days, meaning well-priced homes are moving quickly. Pricing resilience. Market-wide, the average sold price is $441,390, demonstrating a robust value for residential properties in the area. So then if it talks about like, see, it gives you market momentum and demand, performance by price point, strategic insights for sellers. Now, could you use some of this for social media? Absolutely. So let's say strategic insights for sellers. I'm going to highlight this. And maybe I may say, use this information to create a social media plan for Instagram and Facebook. Explained in an easy way, so an 8th grader could understand. So here's your social media strategy. Winning the seller, week 1, posting schedule, the 3-2-1 rule. 3 stories per day, 2 reels or videos per week, and 1 big post, like a carousel. By the way, carousels are those images that you would scroll, and those are big. When you actually look at, what kind of social media is really big, if you would think that it would be reels, is it carousels? Carousel is actually one of the hot social media strategies. And then content buckets. What's the idea? What to talk about. And then you can even have them just plan it out for you. You could take some of this information and put it into Canva AI and have Canva create it for you. So this, if you're like, I don't know what to post about, there, you just take data and you're giving it data. If you're having AI pull data from the air, I would just be cautious with that, because you want to be able to feed it the data that you want it to analyze. Make sense? Okay, so like here, Instagram, topic, absorption rate, 938 homes sold in 6 months. That's over 150 homes a month. The market is hungry. Nom, 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 nom. Do something fun, whatever, right? Facebook, Instagram story, do a poll. Would you rather sell your house in 23 days or 42 days? Do a carousel, price ranges, photo post, seller's market. It's a seller's market with only 2 months of inventory. You hold the cards, right? So then pro tips. And then you can get like really creative here. Ask it like, hey, can you give me hashtags that are very like, that will help, open my post more, create something catchy or whatever. Like, whatever, you have to get really specific with AI, but it's giving you your plan. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. So, to help set you guys up for success. Is that helpful? I hope. All right, here we go. So, establishing your business on social media. So we talked about this. We touched on this yesterday. Part of your homework is to like 10 posts a day, write 5 comments a day, and send 1 direct message. I probably told you wrong, and I probably did like 10 likes, and told you something like that. But anyway, this is helping us clarify. So you're going to like 10 posts, you're going to write 5 comments, and you're going to send 1 direct message. I think yesterday I told you guys at least post something once a day. But you can send a direct message to someone. It's a connection. And I would still recommend like posting once a day. And an ideal time to post, from what I'm learning from social influencers, is between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. But that could vary based on region. But on average, between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So you can always do that research, on your own to find out like, okay, when are people opening up my posts and when are they liking them? You may find that you get more engagement at certain hours, but if you aim for that in the middle of the day, you may get some good information here. So this is something that is important for you guys to work on. This is your part of your daily success system. And if you're not comfortable or familiar with social media, let me know. We can figure something out. There's ways to get help with it if you're also sure not what not to post, or like, no, sorry, I said that wrong. If you're not sure what to post, you have Gemini Pro. You could say, hey, I want to be able to attract buyers. And how do I get like, how can I write a post that has a high conversion or high interest, or yeah, so just type something out like that to be able to give you a plan, or give me a daily plan on what to post and what to say. It could even write a script for you. So if you're comfortable in front of the camera and you want to be able to talk to somebody, you could totally do that. Okay. And then also, when you post on social media, you should follow an 80-20 plan, posting plan. So 80% of your posts, and I'm going to say this slowly, 80% of your posts should not be about real estate. You heard that right. 80% of your posts should not be about real estate. They should be about other things that interest you. Like if you're totally into like sci-fi movies, or you're totally into playing certain games, or you're totally into like puppies or whatever that is. Like if you have a hobby, you love snowboarding, or you love hiking, whatever it is. You love golfing, you love swimming, whatever. Or you love shopping or thrifting, whatever it is, post on that. Because really what you want to attract the people um who who have similar interests. And And that's really important. So I want you to look at your participant guide and look for the activity called brainstorming your social media personality. So open up your social media and look at some of your recent posts and also some of your liked posts, and make a list of your interests that do not include real estate. If you don't have that, um, if you don't have the participant manual in front of you, then just think about like what are some of your interests? It might include cute puppy pictures or nice dining experiences or cool latte art or a unique tattoo or things of that nature. Or like maybe you like to take photos of the outdoors, of the mountains, of the clouds. So these interests are key at establishing your brand and your presence on the internet. Like, what do you want to be associated with? So take a few minutes and write down some of your interests. Does anybody want to share? What are some posts that what are things that you've posted or some interests that you have that that you'd like to share?
Adventure in general, concerts, and food and art.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Mine is recreation, hunting and fishing, and DIY.
Ooh, fun. I think that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, absolutely. And then also, let's take it a step further. What are some posts you've previously made that received a lot of engagement?
Funny enough, it's my walkthrough videos and then my real estate comedy sketches.
Ooh,
Like the
nice.
last one I did, I was doing yoga poses of how I would stage area of a home.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
yeah, it was, people loved it.
Oh, yay. See? How about you, Kelsey? What have you posted that got a lot of interest? It doesn't have to be real estate related.
Mine honestly are any of my adventures I go on with posting about wildlife. My most viral one was watching a eagle out at our creek pick up a pike out of the water and carry it.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then my girls playing with a beaver last year while we were fishing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. So then here's a question like how can you guys like recreate that in a fresh way to create more engagement? So it's like post more of it, you know, and recreate that like awe and wonder. People is like want to see a glimpse of you or of your life. If you feel that you're very private, I know some people are very private, especially won't post anything with their kids or about their personal life. That's fine. But if you have an interest, it'd be nice for you to share that. People want to know that you're human too. All right. Okay, so I'm glad we went over this. So I wanted to just touch base. There are a couple things that you guys, I would like you to take action on as enrichment to today's class. Here are some things that you can do. Study your market center report. We'll just call it the TMO, the Total Market Overview. If you are not receiving those emails, please email Coco and ask her to add you to that list to receive TMOs. Okay. If you would like to know what her email address is, it's KWAG, so KWAG, KWAG Wasilla at gmail.com. So it's kwagwasilla at gmail.com. Okay. Next, you can preview homes. And like Jeremy does, he previews homes and takes videos of himself doing something fun. So if you're like, I don't want to do that, then that's fine. Just walk
I
around.
will just say, make sure the listing agent is okay with that first, though.
Oh, yes, I was getting there. So go preview homes. Make sure that you have written, thank you for mentioning that, Jeremy, written permission from the seller to be able to market the property. Ideally, it would be um, another Keller Williams agent that has it listed, but all you would do is to send an email to the listing licensee, or even if you talk to them on the phone or you texted them, say, hey, can you just send me, I just want to make sure that I have the seller's permission. And so I'm going to send you an email, and if you could please respond to that or send me proof that the seller has authorized it, just so I could keep it for my records. I think that's really important. So make sure that you have authorization from the seller. And then taking MLS courses. We've been offering lots of courses, but definitely becoming familiar. Next, visit and hold open houses. So if you don't have any open houses planned for the weekend, please go visit other open houses. Become familiar with the inventory. Okay. And then next, study the lore, which is language of real estate. This is again just pulling up those statistics like inventory, what's the average sales price, what's the average days on market, becoming familiar with that and studying that. And it's you can pull that information up. As I showed you on the Alaska MLS for Alaska statistics, real estate statistics, read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you haven't, it's on Audible. You can listen to it. Listen to it while you're driving. That's very helpful. We also have the MREA podcast. The MREA is short for the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That podcast has a wealth of information, but read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It actually gives you, it has systems in place. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek here. Someone I know is actually going to be beginning an MREA book club. So after Ignite is done, we'll be starting that in February. So just stay tuned to that, and I highly recommend that you attend that to learn more. What else? What else do you guys think you could learn?
Podcasts on real estate.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. So let's talk about our daily success system. This is where we get to check in. So here's my question to you guys. We'll go one by one. All right, Jeremy. Let me actually move my screen here. All right, Jeremy. Did you make your 10 conversations?
Yes.
Yay. Bravo. And then did you add 10 contacts to command?
No, I only got 2.
Okay. All right. Do you have everybody added from your phone?
Yes, I've already added my phone, my wedding guest list, and all that. I think we've talked about this earlier. I'm kind of running dry. Open houses are helping though.
Okay.
But yes, as for conversations, I had like actually had 30 of them yesterday. And funny enough, it was somebody recognizing me from an open house at Hilltop and
Ah,
somebody overhearing that I was a realtor that I was able to get that second contact. So,
wow. Yeah, you never know where you're going to find business. So it's just having those conversations wherever you're at, even in line at the grocery store. Okay, tell me about handwritten notes. Have you done any handwritten notes?
I got 2 done yesterday.
Okay, all right. And then tell me about your social media engagement.
I got all that done. Yesterday I posted a midwinter checklist for your home. So,
Wonderful.
and then yeah, I have a plan today of um doing a video of my goals for this month of trying to get 3 clients into a home.
Good. And let's adjust that too to add a direct message someone. Like, hey,
Yes.
I haven't talked to you in a while and just was thinking about you,
Yep.
right? Super. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, Jacob, we're on to you. Tell me about your daily success system. Let's go down the line if you're available. And if not, I know that you are busy. Okay. Kelsey, tell me about your daily success system.
I posted to my story yesterday. I posted to my page yesterday. And then I hit the 201 club in command.
Yes.
Um, I went through and fine tuned a lot of it because I checked my database score and I was not happy with that. So I started messaging people and just saying, hey, I went on Facebook, saw like upcoming birthdays, which then got me to message them and be like, hey, I want to send you a card. What's your mailing address? And I updated like 30 something contacts yesterday.
Yay. Wow. Great job. Great job. Beautiful. All right. And how about handwritten notes?
I actually wrote out 5 birthday cards through February. So the end of this month and February are all written. I'm just going to slowly start putting them in the mail so they're not super early. But yeah, I have dates on when I'm sticking out on each one of when I should mail it out.
Beautiful. Great job. Okay, super. And congratulations on the 201 club, 200 plus club.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, when you have 200 contacts or more like that, you're going to get business. Like, so that's super, super important. Okay, great. So let me actually